Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here with us today because, honestly, we're looking at one of the most fascinating biological intersections in modern medicine. We're talking about the explosive boom in weight loss drugs, specifically those GLP-1 receptor agonists you've heard so much about, and how they're colliding head-on with another huge area of men's health, hormones, specifically testosterone. If you've been following the news, you know these therapies are completely reshaping the landscape of metabolic disease. But there's a hidden variable in how the body handles this rapid weight loss, and it's something we absolutely have to talk about.
Just to set the stage here, let's look at the sheer scale of what these drugs can actually do. In major clinical trials, like the STEP 1 trial for Semaglutide and the SURMOUNT-1 trial for Tirzepatide, patients achieved a staggering, real game-changing 15 to 20% total body weight loss. I mean, these are numbers that approach the effectiveness of bariatric surgery. For folks dealing with severe obesity and type 2 diabetes, this pharmacologic energy deficit brings some seriously significant cardiometabolic benefits. It's a genuine revolution in how we manage metabolic health.
Okay, let's dive into this, because here is the big catch. When you look at the DEXA scan sub-analyses from these exact same trials, you see that the weight being lost, it isn't just fat. A striking 30 to 40% of that total weight loss is actually lean mass. That is a massive chunk of tissue. Think about it. If the number on the scale drops by 50 pounds, potentially 15 to 20 pounds of that is lean tissue, not adipose tissue. So this brings up an absolutely critical question about what exactly is happening to our bodies during this sustained, pharmacologically induced starvation.
Which brings us to Section 1, the biology of shrinking, lean mass versus muscle.
First off, we need to properly define what the body is actually shedding when that scale goes down. You see, the biology of shrinking isn't as simple as just burning fat and losing muscle. The nuance here is what's really interesting. Lean mass doesn't equal 100% functional skeletal muscle. When we look at a DEXA scan, lean mass is really a composite. It's a mix of body water, connective tissues, organ mass, alongside skeletal muscle. So when we see that 30 to 40% drop, it's not purely a direct loss of your functional muscle fibers, but the quality of the muscle and the functional implications like your strength and mobility, that's what we really care about, right? Especially for patients who already have a low baseline muscle reserve to begin with.
Now, it's super important to understand that GLP-1s are not catabolic monsters. The drugs themselves aren't going in and directly eating your muscle. Instead, they profoundly suppress your appetite, which leads to a drastic, sustained caloric deficit. Basically, when your body is deprived of energy, it inevitably shifts its delicate balance toward muscle protein breakdown just to survive. It's a totally expected physiological consequence of being in a severe negative energy balance. So the muscle loss, it's a secondary effect of the starvation, not some direct destructive effect of the drug itself.
Moving on to Section 2, the endocrine collision, obesity and low T.
This brings us to a major complicating factor for a lot of men starting these therapies. When we combine pharmacologically induced weight loss with the pre-existing hormone profiles of many patients with obesity, we run into a distinct biological vulnerability. See, obesity and metabolic disease are strongly associated with suppressed endogenous testosterone levels. Excess body fat actually increases the conversion of androgens to estrogen, and that suppresses the natural signals your body needs to produce testosterone. What this does, essentially, is strip these men of their anabolic reserve. Imagine taking a patient who already has a diminished capacity to maintain skeletal muscle due to low T and plunging them into a severe caloric deficit with a GLP-1. They become highly vulnerable. They literally lack the natural hormonal signals required to protect their muscle tissue during all this metabolic stress. Let's get into Section 3, the plausible synergy, a biological shield.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core scientific hypothesis of today's explainer. If a low testosterone environment makes muscle vulnerable during weight loss, could restoring normal physiological testosterone levels act like a biological shield? At the cellular level, we can see exactly how this shield might work. Looking at the androgen-mediated muscle protein metabolism pathway, it's pretty wild. When testosterone enters the cell, it binds to the androgen receptor and directly activates the mTOR pathway. Think of mTOR as the central command center for muscle protein synthesis and satellite cell activation. Basically, testosterone is sending a powerful booming signal to the muscle, telling it to rebuild and maintain its structure, directly counteracting those signals of breakdown that are triggered by a severe caloric deficit.
So we have to ask ourselves this provocative central question. Does normalizing testosterone in these specific, deficient patients actually protect their functional muscle tissue while they're rapidly losing weight on GLP-1s? I mean, it makes perfect physiological sense, right? But we really have to carefully examine how this biological theory translates into clinical reality. Let's contrast these two different physiological states for a second. On one hand, you've got a patient with normal testosterone who has preserved anabolic signaling. When they take a GLP-1 and enter a caloric deficit, their body still has the hormonal tools in its toolbox to maintain muscle mass and functional strength. But on the other hand, a patient with low testosterone has a reduced anabolic reserve. If you subject them to the exact same caloric deficit, their body is way more vulnerable to breaking down functional muscle tissue. This could potentially lead to sarcopenic obesity, where sure, they might weigh less on the scale, but they are fundamentally weaker and functionally impaired.
So the crucial point is, the takeaway from this clinical model is pretty clear. We have GLP-1 receptor agonist therapy driving the massive weight loss. If the patient has normal testosterone, they maintain that preserved anabolic signaling and keep their healthy muscle tissue. But if that signaling is absent, the loss of total body weight just drags a disproportionate amount of functional lean mass down right along with it. It's an incredibly elegant theoretical framework.
Now for Section 4, the reality check, the clinical verdict. We need to bring this fascinating biological theory back down to earth for a minute and look at the actual clinical evidence. Because despite how beautifully the physiology aligns on paper, the reality is there are currently 0 randomized clinical trials that directly evaluate the combined effects of GLP-1s and testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, on body composition outcomes. 0. We've got trials showing GLP-1s cause weight and lean mass loss, and we have totally separate trials showing TRT builds lean mass in deficient men. But we just don't have the gold standard proof that combining them safely preserves functional muscle during this specific kind of pharmacologic weight loss. The scientific community is literally still waiting for this critical data.
Now, because of this lack of direct trial data, current clinical recommendations are actually very clear. First things first, to mitigate muscle loss on GLP-1s, patients universally have to prioritize adequate protein nutrition and resistance exercise. Those are proven countermeasures. Second, physicians should really only test testosterone if a patient is genuinely symptomatic, not just because they happen to be losing weight. TRT is definitely not some universal weight loss hack. It has to be prescribed strictly adhering to clinical guidelines for documented deficiency. So until we have prospective, randomized trials, combined therapy remains an investigational concept, not a standard protocol. I want to leave you all with this final, provocative thought. As we deploy these incredibly powerful weight loss drugs at a massive population scale, are we just treating the weight on the scale? Or are we treating the functional tissue of the human being? GLP-1s are a profound tool for cardiometabolic health, no doubt about it. But preserving our mobility, our strength, and our metabolic resilience, that is going to be the next great frontier in obesity medicine. Understanding the role of hormones like testosterone will be a totally critical piece of that puzzle. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking great questions, and I'll see you next time.